Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Lexi. It's been a little minute, but I'm here, and in today's video I am finally trimming all of this hair. I'm trimming all of this hair. I'm a little bit nervous because I haven't trimmed my hair at home in some years because I found a really good stylist locally. But I wanted to give you guys a home video if any of you are having trouble finding a stylist, or if you are, avoiding being out because of the virus. Whatever your reasoning is, I wanted to give you guys this video, and I am very much due for a trim. So I blew my hair out. My hair is nice and stretched and dried and just all of its glory, okay? But we need to trim it. So that's what today's video is all about. If you want to see me trim my hair, keep on watching, and let's just jump right in. I am not a stylist. That should be pretty obvious by now. If you are new, I am not a stylist, okay? But I did start my natural hair journey trimming my own hair, and I've been seeing a stylist for a few years now, but prior to that I was the home trim queen. So this should not be too hard. I also just have never had this much hair on my head, so I'm a little bit nervous because my hair is the longest it's ever been. So I'm trying not to get too anxious and just take it section by section and piece by piece, and I'm sure that we will be okay. My shirt, if you are wondering, is from my shop, formykinks.com. Be kinky, be curly, be you. If you couldn't see it, that's what it says. And I'm going to section my hair off into 4 sections. That's what I always do. And for the first time probably on camera, I'm using a comb of this size because I want these sections to be as neat as possible, because you don't want the hair, you don't want the hair to be tangled and matted and all of that. So I'm neat as possible, parting my hair into 4 sections to do the trim. You guys know I'm definitely more of the messy finger parting type of girl, but today that should be good. Today we are doing things the right way. When it comes to home trimming, having clips, and I mean a lot of clips, handy is essential. So I prefer to trim my hair on blow-dried hair because if my hair is in its natural state, even like in a braid out state, it's not going to be even. So when it's blow-dried, you can kind of pull the roots, make sure that it's nice and even, and you can see all of your ends. It's just easier to manage as well. So I'm gonna make sure that I take my small comb. My hair is moisturized, blow dry. It's very moisturized and very soft right now, and detangled. So I'm gonna pull the rat tail comb, this fine tooth comb, the only time I'll ever do that, through my roots, just to help to make sure that it's stretched and all of the hair and the shed hair and knots are out. It should be easy and not difficult at all, because if it's matted up and tangled up, don't do this. Then I'm going to pull the hair taut, and you can clearly see these ends. Like you can see where it's uneven, where it's breaking, where it's like needs to be trimmed, okay? I'm not gonna go crazy. I do want to go see my stylist in a couple of months, but for right now this will hold me over. And hopefully with my shirt you can see where it needs to be cut. Now I'm gonna grab these hair shears to trim off these ends. Do not use kitchen or craft scissors. You want to use hair shears because they're sharper and they will obviously give you a nice clean trim without causing any damage or splitting any ends, because dull scissors can split ends. And what you're gonna look for is where the thickness kind of wears away, where the hair is more fine and where it's just splitting and breaking, and you're gonna trim that off. So I'm gonna go right here and just trim this. That way the hair should look more even and it should look more uniform. Gonna comb it a bit. And you can obviously gather the hair one more time and trim it again. And I'm probably just gonna do a little bit, like the very ends, but not too much. And that's it. This is a home trim. So home trims to me are not very detailed and not very, like, you know, extensive. But obviously if your hair still feels like you have knots on the end, or it feels dry at the end, or it just looks like it still needs to be trimmed some more, obviously go ahead and trim it some more. But that to me for this section is just fine. And I'll unclip this piece right here. And the same thing applies. Make sure it's nice and detangled, which it should be already. And just run your fine tooth comb. You can use a brush if you want to, like a Denman or a Tangle Teaser. I prefer to use a comb, so that's what I'm doing. I can hold it out this way if you guys could get a better look at my ends with this white background. There you have it. And I'm gonna cut it like about right here. This angle is too hard to actually cut in that direction for me, so I'm just gonna comb my hair downwards and get these roots, and I'll trim it in this position because it's more comfortable, and I just feel comfortable in this position. But obviously what works for you is what works for you. You still can see on my shirt where the ends become ragged and dusty, and I think I'm gonna do it about right here. If it's your first home trim, take your time. I always say trim less and you can do more as you go, but that's just me. I don't worry too much about my hair being even because I wear my hair curly like 97% of the time. Just trim the little frayed ends, not doing anything else, but just a little frayed ends. Boom. So I have this much left for this back section. I'm going to break it in two so I can, you know, get a good little view of this back section. Some people like to do something called dusting, where they trim their hair in twists and just trim off the little pieces that are, you know, obviously need to be cut off the ends of the twist, which can be helpful for some people. But I feel like for my hair, there's still like tons of ends that are wrapped up in that twist that don't get the treatment that it needs, that end up being stuck in your hair and not being cut off. So I prefer to trim my hair, even if it's a light trim like I'm doing right now. I prefer to do that on stretched hair. If you don't feel comfortable trimming your hair, please go see a stylist. This is more so if you feel like you can do it or you feel like you should try. Hopefully this is helpful to know what you're looking for. But please do not follow this video and then cut off half your hair or make your hair look crazy and then blame me, because it's not my fault, okay? It's not my fault. I'm not a stylist. For the 17th time, I'm gonna say it again in this video. All right, I can clearly see right here, this has to go. And even the comb goes through the section so much easier, or easily, so much more easily. I don't know, you'll get my point. So let me give you a nice little visual. And I'm just gonna trim off these little baby ends. Boom. All right, good enough for me. So some people say trim your hair every 3 to 4 months. Others say every 6 months. Others don't trim often at all. I always say what works for you. What works for me is every like 3 to 4 months, but lately I've been pushing it to every 6 months, and then before the quarantine, but now it's been well over like 8 or 9 months I trimmed my hair. So don't be like me, trim it more often. When you trim your hair often, you're going to be able to retain length because your hair is not breaking as much because the ends are healthy. And I always have a really nice growth spurt, or well, a growth retention spurt when I trim my ends. But you see, it's very painless and very easy. I'm not doing too much, and I wanted to just make the video as simple and easy to follow as possible, because you really don't want to do too much to trim your hair, if you don't have the skill especially. Alright, I'm gonna be quiet now. Sorry guys. I just miss talking to y'all and being in front of the camera, but I'm gonna be quiet and trim these ends. Alright guys, I'm all finished. My hair is completely trimmed. I just did the same thing on the front 2 sections, and this is what we look like. I'm actually very excited to style my hair. I feel like I've been having really frizzy ends, a lot more shedding with my ends needing to be trimmed as bad as they did. I hope this video was helpful. Comment down below and let me know how often you trim your hair, and if you trim your hair by yourself or at a stylist place. A salon, that's the word. If you go to a salon, or if you do home trims. This is my first home trim in a few years, and I'm actually really happy with it. It's not perfect, it's not completely even, and I probably still have a little bit of dead ends here and there that could be snipped some more, but for the most part I'm happy with it. I think that it feels a lot softer, and I can feel the difference in how my ends feel. If you are someone that doesn't really know if your hair needs a trim, there are a few things that I look for, and that's just frizzy ends, ends that do not coil the same. Also, lots of single strand knots. If I have single strand knots on almost every single strand of hair on my head, I know it's time for a trim. And if I have an excessive amount of shedding. So my hair sheds a lot naturally. I'm continually shedding a lot of hair. I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. But I've realized that I shed more when my hair needs to be trimmed. So excess shedding, single strand knots, obviously split ends, lots of breakage. And also one big thing when I'm styling my hair and I apply my favorite like conditioner, whether that be leave-in or deep conditioner, whatever the case is, and I begin to detangle, the detangling process is harder and not as easy because my ends are in shambles compared to usually when they're healthy and trim. So those few things really help me keep an eye on my ends and know when I'm in desperate need of a trim. And I was in desperate need of a trim today, and this should hold me over for a few more months until I go see my stylist. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if it was by giving it a thumbs up, and if you are new here and you watched the entire video and you have not joined the KandidKinks family, are you okay? Are you good? Because, I mean, hold on, y'all. I'm going to give you a nice little exit. It looks pretty good, right? I think so. I was trying to give you a cuter exit than that. But anyways, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Shop for my kinks apparel, hair accessories, earrings, spray bottles at formykinks.com. Okay, for real, goodbye. Happy Sunday, and I'm hyped to be back in front of the camera.